history as it is. Let's see if we can move this table out of the way a little bit more because we have a load of books. Just there, that's good right there. You ready? Okay. So rehearse first. I think we're ready. Ready? That's all we got. All right. Once upon a time, a long time ago in England, there lived a group of people called the Puritans. We had 3 that were absent for the whole week, so. Down. On the bell. They were very hard-working people. And they were very kind people and very friendly. That's friendly. Come on, guys, move a little. Let's go. A little more friendly than that. Okay, good. But they weren't happy. Oh, they weren't happy. They lived under the rule of King James, who was a tyrant. And King James would say to them,
"Do what I say. Come to my church."
And the pilgrim said, girls, the pilgrim said, no. So, they talked amongst themselves. And they had an idea. They would go to Holland, because in Holland they would be able to have their own church and live their own way. So they very carefully boarded a ship to Holland. It's longer to board the ship than to travel. Okay, so, and they traveled across to Holland. And when they got there, carefully, spread out. They spread out, ladies, and move away from the door. We all want center stage. Move right over here, because the door is right there. But, oops, careful, let's not. Okay. They all started to work again. New jobs. Made new friends. But they weren't happy still. They really wanted to live in a place that was really all their own. And they wanted their children to remember their language. And their children were beginning to learn the Dutch language. So they talked amongst themselves again. And they had another idea. This time, they would hire 2 ships, the Speedwell and the Mayflower, and sail to the New World. Whoa. Frankie, or Enrico? So, in September of 1620, they were going to board both boats, but the Speedwell had a hole and a leak. And so most of the pilgrims had to go on the same ship, and they all boarded the Mayflower. And they set sail for the New World. They were headed for the Virginia colony, where the Jamestown settlement had already been established. But as they were traveling, the weather got bad, and there were storms at sea, and the boat rocked and pitched, and the pilgrims got sick, so sick, and many of them wanted to go home, but the sailors sailed on, and finally one day a sailor yelled,
"Land ho!"
and the pilgrims were so happy. Now, while they were on the ship, a little baby was born. And they named the baby Oceanus because he was born while they were on the ocean. Well, they knew they had not settled in Virginia, but it was getting cold, and so they decided to leave the ship and start a new colony. Spread out, girls. Oops, oops. looked around. And they saw trees, and they saw rivers, and lakes, and fish, and wild animals, but no settlers. Well, they weren't prepared for the winter. The winter came, and it got very, very cold. Very, 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 very cold. And a lot of the pilgrims got very sick. And some of the pilgrims even died. Well, the other pilgrims were so sad. Oh, they were so sad. Didn't know what they were going to do. But in the springtime, when all things grow again, the pilgrims knew they had a big problem. They needed help. And luckily for them, 2 Indians from their village came to their village and said, wait a minute, the pilgrims were very frightened. Oh, goodness. And the Indian said,
Don't be afraid. Where are your friends? I'm Squanto. I'm Samuelson. Would you like some help?
And the pilgrim said,
Yes.
So Samoset and Squanto, who had learned how to speak English from other settlers, went back to their village and asked their Indian friends, would you like
to help our friends? Yes.
And the Indians said yes. So the whole tribe came to Plymouth. Let's go. All 5 of them. I'm telling you, we're very short on Indians this year. Come on. Go stand by some pilgrims. Go stand by a pilgrim. Go stand by a pilgrim. Okay. All right, turn around and face me. And the pilgrims, come on, because we're desperately in need of an Indian over here. And the pilgrims learned how to fish. That fish. Put it in your bucket. And the Indians taught them how to hunt. And they taught them how to plant crops like pumpkin and corn, and how to dig a hole, put the seeds in, and take that sticky fish, put it in there, and cover it up so it would grow really well. And the pilgrims and the Indians got to be very good friends. Hug each other. Tap each other. Oh, good. And the Indians stayed until they thought the pilgrims could take care of themselves. And then the Indians went back to their village. Back to your village. Back to your village. And the pilgrims were so thankful for their help that they talked amongst themselves again. And they had a really good idea. They were going to have a great celebration to show their thanks. And so 2 pilgrims went to the...
Yes.
All right. So the pilgrims... I thought you said you like some coffee. Pilgrims prepared a feast. Excuse us. I'm sorry. They're going to be stepping right on top of you, Grim. That's it. Come over here, guys. Come close. Come over here by me so there's room for the table. And the Indians prepared as well. Come this way so our Indians can sit. Come over here. Come over here. That's good. Okay. And the Indians brought fish and turkeys and corn and pumpkins and deer and bear. All kinds of good foods. Zach? Okay. And everyone, the pilgrims and the Indians, gave thanks for everything they had. Okay. Gave thanks. And then they ate and ate and ate and played games and talked and made new friends. And this lasted for how many days? For
3 whole days.
And that's the story of the first
first Thanksgiving. Now turn around so your parents can hear you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.